The summer sun slanted through the lace curtains of our little kitchen in Charleston, South Carolina. Cicadas buzzed outside while the smell of baked cornbread clung to the walls. I sat at the wobbly table, tracing the pattern of the wood, working up the courage to ask. "Grandma," I said finally, my voice wobbling like the fan on the counter, "my birthday's next Saturday. Can we maybe do something this year? Like a party?" Grandma didn't look up from her biscuit dough. She pinched the edges like she always did, calm and unbothered. "A party?" she said, squinting slightly. "What kind of party?" I shrugged, trying to sound casual. "Just a small one. Balloons, music. Maybe a cake with my name on it this time." She wiped her hands on her apron and turned, looking right at me. "You got money for that?" My breath hitched. "What?" Her eyes weren't joking. "You want a party? You better help pay for it." The room went still. Even the cicadas seemed to pause. What was she talking about? She'd always done birthdays for my cousins. Why not me? I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't going to be simple. I stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "You want me to pay for my own birthday party?" Grandma nodded, calm as sweet tea. "You want something nice, you gotta put something in. That's life." "But I'm 12, she raised a brow. "And that's old enough to start learning." The silence pressed on my shoulders. I could hear the neighbors' wind chimes tinkling from the porch. My chest tightened with something I couldn't name. Anger, maybe. Embarrassment? I scraped back my chair and stood. "Fine." "Where you going?" she asked. "To make some money." She chuckled, but I was already at the door, storming into the sticky summer air. By sunset, I'd tried mowing lawns, walking dogs, even selling lemonade. I earned $7.25, 2 mosquito bites and a sunburn. It wasn't much, but it felt like something. That night, Grandma sat by the window shelling peas. I dropped the wrinkled bills in her lap. "There," I said. "It's a start." She didn't smile, didn't frown, just nodded. "All right then," she said. "Let's plan your party." But the way she said it made me uneasy, like this party was going to come with strings I hadn't imagined. The next morning, I woke to the sound of Grandma on the phone. I tiptoed to the hallway and peeked around the corner. "Uh-huh," she was saying. "This Saturday. No gifts, just bring something for the table." Click. She looked up and caught me. "Good morning. Hope you don't mind I invited some folks." "Who?" I asked cautiously. "Oh, just a few neighbors. Cousin Merle, that lady from the church with the 10 cats. I blinked. "Grandma, I said I wanted my friends." "You said you wanted a party," she said, folding her arms. "And this is what we can afford." My throat closed up. It felt like the party was slipping away, morphing into something I didn't recognize. I looked out the window. There was Cousin Merle's ancient RV already rumbling down the street, a floral curtain flapping out the window. Grandma clapped her hands. "Better get ready. We're baking the cake today, from scratch." I didn't move. This wasn't the party I imagined. It was becoming something messier, louder, and somehow more real. And deep down, I had a feeling this wasn't just about balloons and cake anymore. Something unexpected was coming. The kitchen was chaos. Flour floated in the air like fog and bowls clattered with wild energy. Grandma handed me a whisk and pointed to a mixing bowl. "Start stirring slow. That's Grandma's buttercream recipe, passed down since 1932. I dipped a finger in the batter. Sweet, rich, and buttery. "Why didn't we just buy a cake?" I asked. She gave me a sharp look. "Because store-bought tastes like cardboard lies." I smirked, but something still gnawed at me. "Why'd you ask me for money? You always paid for the others." She didn't answer right away, just kept whipping egg whites like she was trying to beat the silence out of them. Then finally she said, "Because you're different. You dream different. And I want you to fight for your dreams." I didn't know what that meant. All I wanted was a party, not a life lesson. But somewhere between the cinnamon and the sugar, I started feeling something strange. Like maybe this wasn't just about cake after all. And then the doorbell rang. Grandma wiped her hands. "You get it." I opened the door and froze. Because standing there was someone I hadn't seen in 3 years. He wore the same faded baseball cap. A lopsided smile tugged at his lips like he wasn't sure if he should be happy to see me. "Hey, kiddo," said the man who used to tuck me in with bedtime stories. "Dad?" My voice cracked. He nodded. "Your grandma called, said you were throwing a party." I turned to Grandma wide-eyed. She was calmly peeling apples at the sink. "Thought it was time," she said. I didn't know what to feel. Anger? Relief? My dad had left when I was 9 after the divorce and promised he'd call. He didn't. "I didn't know you were invited," I muttered. He looked down. "I wasn't sure if I should come. But she said, you deserved more than balloons. You needed answers." The silence between us thickened. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't cry. "I should help with the cake," I said quickly, brushing past him. Grandma met my eyes. She didn't say anything, just placed a wooden spoon in my hand. The kind of spoon you hand someone when they've got more emotions than words. The cake sat cooling on the windowsill, and the house hummed with quiet tension. Dad sat on the porch staring at the street like he didn't belong anywhere. I stirred frosting with shaking hands. Grandma stood behind me, close but not touching. "You mad at me?" she asked gently. I didn't look up. "You knew I wasn't ready to see him." "No one's ever ready to face what hurts," she said. "But healing don't wait for perfect timing." The icing suddenly felt too thick, too heavy to spread. I slammed the spatula down. "This was supposed to be my day." Grandma sighed. "It still is, but maybe it's also a chance to fix what's broken." Outside, I saw Dad pacing. He looked smaller than I remembered, less like a superhero, more like someone who knew he'd messed up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hug him. Instead, I just whispered, "I don't know if I can forgive him." Grandma touched my shoulder. "You don't have to. Not yet. Just listen." Then the front gate creaked. A whole crowd was coming down the sidewalk. Neighbors, cousins, and someone carrying a massive boombox. The party was about to begin, but I was standing in the middle of a storm I hadn't seen coming. The backyard was transformed. String lights twinkled across the fence, paper lanterns swayed in the breeze, and the scent of barbecue clung to the summer air. Someone had dragged out the old stereo system, and a mix of 90s R&B and gospel blasted through the speakers. Kids darted between lawn chairs, women in floral dresses laughed over lemonade, and Uncle Leo was already 2 hot dogs deep. But I couldn't enjoy it. Not yet. Dad lingered near the edge of the crowd, like a ghost at his own funeral. He didn't touch the food, barely smiled. I sat on the porch steps with a paper plate in my lap, untouched cake, melting ice cream. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. I shrugged. He sat, careful not to get too close. "I missed a lot," he said softly. "Yeah," I replied. "You did." The music shifted to a slow, familiar tune, one he used to dance to in the living room, back when birthdays meant silly hats and plastic crowns. He looked at me, his eyes tired. "Can I make it up to you?" I swallowed hard. I don't know. But before either of us could say more, a scream cut through the music, then a loud pop, and smoke started pouring from the grill. Grandma raced toward the grill like a linebacker in house slippers. "Leo, I told you not to pile the grease like that." Leo, armed with tongs and a guilty smile, stepped back as flames licked the sky. Someone dumped a bucket of water. Steam exploded. Guests screamed, scrambled, and then laughed as the smoke cleared. "Party's lit!" someone shouted, and the tension finally cracked. Laughter rolled through the yard like thunder after a storm. Dad and I looked at each other, stunned, then chuckled. A real one. The first in years. "You still like fried chicken?" he asked. "I guess," I said. "Good," Grandma barked, slapping plates down beside us. Because that's dinner now, charcoal and all. As people passed around burnt drumsticks and soggy buns, something softened inside me. Maybe this wasn't the party I wanted, but it was real, loud, messy, honest. Like life. I watched Dad take a bite and grimace. Still better than the food in Cincinnati, he said. I raised a brow. You live in Cincinnati now? He nodded slowly. For now. But I was thinking of moving back. Maybe. Then he trailed off. Because Grandma was motioning to the house, someone had just arrived, and from her face I knew it wasn't part of the plan. The back door creaked open and a shadow stepped out. She was tall, dressed in a navy blazer that didn't match the rest of the party's vibe at all. Her silver heels clicked on the patio. Grandma's smile dropped. "What are you doing here, Barbara?" My stomach flipped. Barbara? Aunt Barbara was the family lawyer, the fancy one from Atlanta who only visited when someone died or someone sued. "I heard about the party," she said, her voice like polished glass. "Thought I'd drop in." Grandma didn't budge. "A party's no place for business." Barbara held up a manila envelope. "It's not business, it's family." Dad stood up. "Barb, come on, not now." But she was already walking toward me. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," she said, kneeling. "Your mom would have wanted you to have this." She placed the envelope in my lap. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a photograph. Me as a baby between my parents, and a folded letter with Mom's handwriting. The crowd faded. The music disappeared. It was just me, and her words waiting to be read. The paper was aged, soft at the folds, her handwriting curling like ivy across the page. I read silently as the party blurred around me. "My baby, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay long enough to see you grow up. I hope you're surrounded by people who love you, even if they sometimes show it in strange ways. I want you to know, love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's patient, sometimes it's stubborn, but it's always there, waiting for you to see it." My fingers clenched the letter. I could feel her in the words. Her warmth, her laughter, the lullaby she used to hum when the power went out. "If your grandma gave you this, it's because she thinks you're ready to understand. There's money I saved, not much but enough. I wanted you to use it for something that brings you joy, not just survival. You're allowed to dream, sweetheart. Dream big. Don't ever be ashamed of that." I looked up. Grandma stood nearby, eyes glassy, arms crossed tightly across her chest. She nodded once. It wasn't just a letter, it was permission, a blessing, and maybe a second chance. Later that night, after the guests left and the lanterns flickered low, I found Grandma in the kitchen wiping down the counters. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" I asked. "About the money, the letter, all of it." She sighed and leaned on the table. "Because I wasn't sure you were ready, not to have it, to carry what comes with it." What comes with it? Grief, hope, pressure, a future that ain't always fair. I looked at her, really looked. The flower in her hair, the tired in her bones, the kind of love that doesn't hug, it just shows up. "I thought you were being mean," I whispered. She smiled, sad and proud. I was being real. She slid a worn envelope across the table. "Your mom left this too. Bank information. Enough to get you started on whatever dream you've been hiding." I opened it, hands trembling. "You still want a party?" she asked. I shook my head slowly. I think I want something more." And right then, I realized this party wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. But not everyone was ready for what came next, because someone else had read the letter too. I found Aunt Barbara standing by her car, arms crossed, phone pressed to her ear. "No, I didn't give her the rest," she was whispering. "She's just a kid. She doesn't need to know." The phone slipped from her hand when she saw me. "You lied?" I asked, voice sharp. She straightened her blazer. "Not lied, edited." Edited what? She looked away. There's more. A trust fund your mom set up, but it wasn't supposed to go to you directly until you turned 18. You mean until you had control? Her silence said everything. My fists clenched. That's not your choice. She stepped forward. You have no idea how money like that changes people. How dangerous it can be. Your father— I'm not him, I snapped. She flinched, and for a second I saw something like regret in her eyes. I'm not going to let anyone else decide who I become, I said quietly. Barbara didn't answer. She just got in her car and drove away. Inside my pocket, the letter felt warm, and for the first time, I knew exactly what I was going to do. By morning, I was back at the dining table, scraps of paper scattered across the surface, dreams, doodles, ideas I'd never dared say out loud. Grandma shuffled in with her morning tea, peering over my shoulder. What's all this? My dream list, I said. Things I want to build, create, try. Maybe even a community center one day, with music, food, a space for kids like me. She sat down slowly. You're really doing it. I nodded. I think I have to. She leaned back in her chair, a quiet smile playing on her lips. Your mama would have been proud. You know that? The words hit me in the chest. I bit my lip and nodded again. Outside, Dad was fixing the porch swing, something he promised to do years ago. We were all trying in our own broken ways. That afternoon, we went to the bank together. Grandma, Dad, and me. A strange trio, like a reunion written by a reluctant screenwriter. The trust was real. So was the power behind it. But I knew now, it wasn't just about money. It was about ownership of my story, my future, and I was finally ready to write it. 2 weeks later, the backyard looked different, cleaner, hopeful. I stood with a clipboard marking off supplies, folding chairs, a borrowed PA system, donated art kits. My first community open mic night was happening today. Kids from the neighborhood trickled in with notebooks and guitars. Auntie Jo brought lemon bars. Even Leo promised not to touch the grill this time. I didn't wear a birthday hat. I wore a t-shirt I designed myself. Build something bigger. Dad stood by the snack table, chatting with other parents. He looked less like a ghost now, more like a man trying to catch up. I took the mic, heart pounding in my chest. Hey everyone, I began. A few weeks ago, I just wanted a party. But I got a lot more. I got truth, history, family, and maybe a little fire, light laughter. But I also got this crazy idea that maybe, just maybe, we could build something here that lasts longer than one night. Applause, cameras clicking. And then I saw her. A girl I'd never met, maybe 10 years old, standing in the back with wide eyes, clutching a notebook like it was the last piece of her heart. She was next. She stepped up to the mic, knees shaking. I gave her a thumbs up and stepped aside. My name is Amira, she said quietly, and this is my poem. The yard went still. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Her voice cracked at first, but then it found a rhythm. Her words were raw, about losing her big brother to the system, about missing school when her mom had to work, about finding hope in a cracked sidewalk. Every line hit like a stone skipping across a still pond. When she finished, no one clapped at first, not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. Then the silence broke, a standing ovation, tears, smiles, a moment no one expected. Amira stepped down and I knelt beside her. That was beautiful, I said. She smiled shyly. I didn't think anyone would listen. I nodded. I know the feeling. That night, under the same string lights from my not-so-simple birthday, I realized this was the party I wanted. And I wasn't just throwing it anymore. I was building something for kids like her, for kids like me. But I had no idea who'd show up next. 3 days after the open mic night, a black sedan pulled into our driveway. The man who stepped out wore a gray suit that didn't belong in our neighborhood. He had the kind of smile that never quite reached the eyes. Grandma peeked through the window. Uh-oh, she muttered. Lawyers wear that look when they're bringing storms. Dad joined us at the door. You know him? Worse, she said. I don't. The man knocked once, sharp and polite. Good afternoon, he said, handing me a business card. Elijah Banks, Family Estate Services. I represent an interested party regarding your late mother's holdings. There's been a development. My heart sank. What kind of development? He glanced at Dad and Grandma. May we speak in private? No, I said. We're not doing secrets anymore. He hesitated, then opened his briefcase. Inside were files, stamped and sealed. Your mother co-founded a foundation in her early 20s, he said. It went dormant after her passing, but recent activity, namely your event, triggered a clause. A clause? Dad repeated. He nodded. You've unintentionally activated a revival clause. The foundation is now legally yours. My breath caught. Grandma sat down, and everything shifted again. The papers sprawled across our table told a story I never knew. Before Mom became a nurse, before marriage and me, she and a group of young friends had started a nonprofit, the Magnolia House Project. Its mission, to uplift forgotten neighborhoods with art, education, and community healing. She was barely 20, Grandma whispered, flipping through the old photographs. I didn't even know she'd done all this. Dad looked stunned. She always talked about wanting to do more, but I thought it was just dreaming. Mr. Banks cleared his throat. It was shelved after your mother passed, but legally it never dissolved. And because you are her direct heir and have now demonstrated community-based initiative, as the clause states, the trust associated with the foundation is fully reinstated. He pushed a final folder toward me. Inside, blueprints, budgets, letters from past board members, and a check with more zeros than I'd ever seen. I don't know how to run a foundation, I whispered. Grandma took my hand. You didn't know how to throw a party either, baby. Look how that turned out. I looked at Dad. Are you with me? I asked. He smiled, eyes wet. All the way. We opened the Magnolia House on the first day of summer. The cracked old church on Chestnut Street, once boarded up, forgotten, was now bursting with color. Murals danced across its walls. Kids painted, read, rapped, dreamed inside its reborn halls. I wore the same shirt, build something bigger. Only this time it wasn't just a message, it was a mission. Amira was the first to take the stage in the new recording room. Uncle Leo ran the snack stand, safely away from any flames, and Aunt Jo taught poetry workshops every Friday. Grandma came early every morning, made cookies for the kids, and sat by the door like a guardian angel in an apron. Dad, he became our driver, fundraiser, handyman, and soft-hearted security. Every room in that house whispered her name, my mom's, but it also echoed with something else, our future. The girl who just wanted a party had built a home, not for cake, but for courage. And as I stood on the steps that evening, watching the lights flicker on like stars, I realized something I hadn't known the day this started. Grandma didn't ask me for money. She asked if I was ready to dream out loud. What a journey, from birthday balloons to legacy foundations, all sparked by one unexpected answer from Grandma. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for more heartwarming storytelling every week. Thank you for watching. And remember, it's okay to ask, but be ready for what the answer might reveal.